morning, Siyanivusela Mhlekiseni. Thank you for joining us. It is exactly 6 o'clock. Loshoko Cala Wehlelefu Lomohla Lesihlanu, the 26th of January 2024. Sekubuka kwangathi umnyaka noma ke inyanga ephambethwana seya ngasemaphethelweni ngoni. Ngathi uyagijima lo January.
You know what's funny? I was actually looking at social media, so in like dolo. Bonke abantu nje cishe babhala ukuthi kanti ngilo January bensolo lithi usheshe uyaphela lo solo ngapheli. So I think we are in different, ends of the spectrum. Ekuthenini January uyashesha mina move ngathi usheshe kakhulu.
Yeah, nami ngathi usheshile, but labanye abakhala bathina next week solo January. Asebenzela ama memes on social media, but yeah.
So an analysis was made regarding that. Ukuthi yabona na wena indvo lo ithandzako. Uva ngasilamalanga agijima na wena indvo le ngathi awujabuleli kakhulu uva ngasilamalanga aslow. So maybe people should find, passions or a hobby about enjoy yako. Time will feel like siyagijima.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are you doing for me?
I'm great. It's a Friday.
Yeah.
It's the start of a weekend. We had good thing a weekend. Back on the local chawula nje ukuthi yeah, siyophumula bese ke back again on Monday.
On the contrary, I enjoy being at work. I don't look forward to my weekend. I enjoy Monday to Friday. Na kuba Friday nje ngiyakhathata ukuthi sengiyapi ngoba phela mina ngithanda kudala lapha ka KBS sitekutavusela eMaswati siwathulena kulesihlale siwathula kona. Outside of that, we are really grateful and blessed to wake up yet again nomhla ekuseni sibonga nje lo mdzala wethu insuku ekuthenini usigcinile kude kube ngolamuhla nomhla ke lohlelo lwethu lutawuba ngolumnanzi kakhulu lutawuphinze futhi ke lube informative and educational njengoba sigatsile ukuthi sijoyinwe ngilabaqhamuka itiko letekuhlela umnotfo nentuthuko impela nje kuta Robert Fakutse, who is a senior statistician under the ministry, kuta sichazela kabanti ngana isurvey lapha yethule itolo, which has very interesting and informative data spanning from tindzaba te-sanitation, tekuhlala, tenhlala kahle emakhaya, tekuthi nje kunemakhaya la ngathi are vulnerable, ngenxa ukuthi a child headed. A lot of informative data. Let's unpack nakasijoyina ehlelweni. Ngathi ke sitawuphinza sijoyine nangu-Fabrice Msonera later on the program ukukhulumisa temidlalo, the Africa Cup of Nations, as bathi labayibukelako kungathi yi-movie script lena interesting plot ekugcineni with the results lendlela labanga khona. We do want to look at those results from the Africa Cup of Nations, as well as look at weekend fixtures lapha ekhaya ngoba iPremier League itawuphinza ke ibuye kulandzela ukuthi evikini eliphelile ngempela sonto bekuyingwenyama cups taphinza sibuke netemidlalo eqhamuka ngephandle kwelakuleli kutaba mnanzi ngayenzawo.
This happens is Kurumisani, the Commissioner General we Eswatini Revenue Service. It's a Friday at Kusile Lesihlanu. Siteka donatinza batek badalwa kwemthelo. Today the IRS joins the global community in commemorating International Customs Day. So sidabe sikurumisana na ye Commissioner General Brightwell Ngambulu kuvanje ama developments la sendiwe live leSwatini nasibuka luhlangothi lokwa customs lapha ekhaya. Sidabe sina at 6:30 lomhla ekseni. Do stay with us. Kanti ke kumanje asibuke nathi lethamba imbili kumaphephandaba. Alright, so let's look at times of Eswatini. Sibuka lethamba imbili. Law Society's 22 reasons why a master's office probe should stop. Lawyers want CJ to reconsider his decision, disband inquiry, and refer it to lawful authority. Says he is seeking to defeat ends of justice. This could give rise to constitutional crisis. He alleged he has usurped powers conferred on Justice Minister by the King. More on page 2. Shakantu's company, mining giants to search for diamonds. Kuletinye, 4 rangers injured in Manzini bus rank brawl. Maswati among 200 held for illegal mining drugs in South Africa. On page 2, from petrol attendant to Prime Minister. Prime Minister Lapa as a semush.
The Midlalok Times of Eswatini, the leading story, the major setback for capital city giants as Birds Stars out of Mamba clash. PLE suspends Newman while Fela Mabila still out nursing their injuries. The injury of star midfielder Felix Badenhorst when Babane Swallows, who suffered a fresh setback. Another story says rescue Manzini teams. Kushoge ex-PLE boss Logungo chairperson Tam DuPont, who is worried about the 3 relegation threatened Manzini teams. Those are the 2 leading headlines this morning. Good Times of Eswatini. There's another one there which speaks to the Africa Cup of Nations. It is titled AFCON Beauties, with those 3 images of those ladies there. It says the African Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire is not only a showcase of the best football talents in the continent, but it is also a celebration of beautiful fans. As the tournament progresses, pictures of stunning female fans from different countries have been trending on social media, attracting admiration and praise from around the world.
All right, so moving on to the Eswatini Daily News, leading headlines. Eswatini to commence trade under 63.9 trillion economic bloc. Kuleti hamba imbili kuletinye, ICT Ministry hands over sign language translation studio to the Deputy Prime Minister's office, and international experts for business Eswatini's annual labor law seminar.
Pamandla linked to Green Mamba is the leading headline there, which speaks to defending league champions Green Mamba, which is set to make their biggest signing of the season as they snatched talented midfielders Pamandla Masego from Denver Sundowns before the end of second registration window period. Another story speaks to Palmer, who is cleared to Eswatini United. AFCON enters knockout stage, the last leading story there.
All right, ngilethele lithamba imbili 7 minutes after 6 dawo thatha likhefu sibuye netindzaba teSwati.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eVeni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba tenteya ngaleso sikhatsi tindzaba letide magama lacosheme letitsembekile letitsinza tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele. Siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulomsakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letichamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lotiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Kwalomuhla siphinza sikwamukele lihlelweni sithokotele nathi tindzaba tesiswati. Umhlonishwani Vunankulu Russell Dlamini sawufikile eRome enhlokodolobha yelive le-Italy lapho abhekeke khona ukuthi amelele silo semhlaba inkosi Mswati wesithathu emhlanganweni welive leTaliyane kanye nemave yase-Afrika.
Mhla tingemashumi kude kube ngomhla tingemashumi kulesetulu. Live le-Italy litawubamba umhlangano lomkhulu nemave ase-Afrika. Kulo mhlangano Mdunankulu welive le-Italy Giorgia Meloni utawethula indlela uhulumende wakhe lafuna kusebenta ngayo nemave ase-Afrika. Lokho kulandzela kutsi ngeminyaka yabo 1957 lesetulu uhulumende wase-Italy Enrico Mattei wancoma kuhulumende wakulelive kutsi asekele emave lasenyakatho nelivekati le-Afrika kute kutawukhula iminotfo yawo aphindze antotobalise imcebo waphansi. Gesi lolinganiselwa kulokungemashumi lamane ekhulwini lapha e-Italy kuchamuka khona emaveni ase-Afrika. Kanti-ke bantu labalinganiselwa kulokungemashumi lasiphohlongo ekhulwini labangena lapha e-Italy ngalokungekho emthethweni bavela emaveni lasenyakatho nelivekati lase-Afrika. Live le-Italy lifuna kuqinisa budlelwane balo ne-Afrika nje. Ingani live le-Russia kanye ne-China ayachubeka nekuba nebudlelwane lobuhle nalamanye emave ase-Afrika. Budlelwano be-Afrika ne-Italy bacala ngilowake waba nguNdunankulu ngeminyaka wa-2007 Romano Prodi. Umhlonishwa Ndunankulu Russell Dlamini kubheke ukuthi amelele iNgwenyama inkosi Mswati wesithathu kula mhlangano. Nakefika Ndunankulu lapha enhlokodolobha yelive le-Italy Rome umukelwe ngilonxuso lelive leSwatini lapha eTaliyane nomthandazo Mbuyisa. Umbiko ohlanganiswe ngiLinkedIn Gule ngise-Rome enhlokodolobha yelive leTaliyane.
Iphini Ndunankulu umhlonishwa Kusile Dladla lithi kumqokwa ukuthi tisekelwe tinhlelo tebantu labakhubatekile lokufaka ekhatsi labangeva etindlebeni ukuthi banakekelwe bajinge futhi tinhlelo tabo tisekeleke kude bangasaleli emuva. Iphini Ndunankulu lithi uhulumende usebentela ukuthi ulwimi lwe-sign language ligcine kungilelo lelisemthethweni lapha eveni. Dladla ukusho lokhu ngesikhathi yavula ngalokusemthethweni istudio salabakhubateke ngekungeva etindlebeni lesitawubasita etinhlelweni tabo letinyenti.
Siyabonga nje kakhulu ngaloku isikhom lakwentile. Sicela ukuthi uNkulunkulu anzise. Sicela futhi ne-Ministry of Education ithi noma yenda i-budget yayo. Sikhumbuleni uma senda le budget. All the ministries akhumbule ukuthi uma akha i-budget sidinga i-budget letaba inclusive.
Indvuna yetekuchumana umhlonishwa Savana Maziya ithi lokwakhiwa kwale studio kukhomba ukutibophelela kwahulumende ekuthuthukiseni impilo temaswati onke asebenzisa tebuchwephesha.
I believe the studio will fulfill its intended purpose of enriching and empowering the lives of citizens, particularly those of the deaf community, aligning with His Majesty the King's recent call at the Sibaya.
Indvuna yetemfundo umhlonishwa Owen Nxumalo bekathi imelelwe ngumcondzisi wetemfundo etiko letemfundo Dr. Ntombenhle Dlamini. Dlamini uthi kuba khona kwale studio kutawusita ekuthuthukiseni temfundo kuleli.
We are now going to be able to get into embracing more technological methodologies in making sure that our learners are able to access education in a holistic manner.
Umcondzisi wenhlangano labakhubateke ngekungeva i-National Deaf Association Makhosini Makhubu uthi bantwana besikole abatozuzwa kule studio uthi litawusita nasekuhumusheni libhayibheli.
Nasisebenzisana nelitiko singakhona kuyigucula imfundo yalabangeva etindlebeni. Singasebenzisana nelitiko senda tintfo letinyenti njengoba sihumusha nelibhayibheli. Kunengi lesikakwenda ngoba nakaswazi TV bantfu labangeva etindlebeni bafuna ukuthi nabo bambandzakanywe. Bantfu labangeva etindlebeni bafuna ukuthi nabo babe ingcenye yakhe. Kunengi lesingakwenda kulolo hlangothi.
Lestudio salabakhubateke ngekungeva etindlebeni lesibita imali le-1.5 million emalangeni sakhiwe ngelusito lemali levele ebandleni lelilawulwa tekuchumana kuleli Eswatini Communications Commission. Umphathi waleli bandla Mvila Wempi Dlamini uthi lokwakhiwa kwale studio liphawule ukuthi kude lokumele asalele ngephandle kutebuchwephesha. Etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla nginathemba Shabangu sikalobamba.
Bangemashumi lamabili ekhulwini bantfwana labaneminyaka lengephansi kwalesihlanu labanesindvo lesincane kuneminyaka yabo kuleli. Labo lona ke ngilomunye yemiphumela lecuketfwe ngumbiko welicwaningo lolubika-ke tingoni letahlukene tekuphila kwesive. Lokhu-ke kwatiwa ngele MICS kanti-ke lo mphumela walolucwaningo wethulwe indvuna yetekuhlela umnotfo nentfutfuko umhlonishwa Thambugina.
Lolu cwaningo lolusekelwe imali yakamhlaba ngenhlangano i-UNICEF belukadze lulwesigaba lwesithupha sololwaqala kanti lolu lweminyaka wanga-2019 lebekubheke ukuthi luthathe umnyaka munye vo kodwa ngenxa yemkhuhlane i-COVID-19 lugcine luthatha iminyaka lemine. Indvuna yetekuhlela umnotfo lebeyimelelwe ngumabhalane lomncane Siboniso Masilela ichaza ngabomcoka balolu cwaningo.
This collects data on the situation of households, women, men and children. The main objective of the survey is to provide up-to-date information on core national indicators to assist policymakers and program implementers to monitor and evaluate existing policies, programs, and evaluate the country's achievement on the Sustainable Development Goals. The survey produces indicators on education, health, social protection, and other issues of national importance affecting children, women, and men.
Lo mbiko uphinze uthi bangamashumi 31 ekhulwini batali labatihluphako ngekulekelela abantwana babo labangaphansi kweminyaka lemine ngemsebenzi wesikolwa. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV, nguMbongwa Dube kaManzini.
Indvuna yelitiko letemabhizinisi nekutsengiselana umhlonishwa Manqoba Khumalo uthi kusukela natinge-31 kule nyanga kulomnyaka losetulu lakuleli litawucala kutsengisa ngephansi kwenhlangano yemave yase-Afrika yekutsengiselana ngephandle kwetincabekelwano i-African Continental Free Trade Area leyatiwa-ke nge-AfCFTA. Khumalo uthi lokhu kulandzela ukuthi ikhomishane ye-International Trade Administration Commission ikhiphe igazethi ikhiphela emave lasihlanu langephansi kwenhlangano yetekutsengiselana yendansi nesifundza lesingendansi ne-Afrika isakhu. Indvuna ithi kutawucinisekiswa ukuthi imikhicito lengaphumi eveni lase-Afrika ngangeke ingeniswe iphindze-ke itsengiswe kube ngathi ikhicitwe kuleli vekati lokuyintfo lengamisa kabi imikhicito yalamavekati.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade has already engaged traders to take advantage of this great opportunity to penetrate the African market. As a tool of enhancing trade under the AfCFTA agreement, Eswatini has since joined other AfCFTA partner states that are part of what we call the Guided Trade Initiative, GTI. This Guided Trade Initiative assists to connect businesses in the private sector and products for import and export between the member states. Eswatini traders have registered their interest in being part of this initiative, and our International Trade Department in the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, in collaboration with the AfCFTA Secretariat, Eswatini Revenue Service, and the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, will be engaging with these traders to assisting them with increasing their market in the continent. The ministry is also engaged in discussions with key exporting companies such as the Eswatini Sugar Association, companies such as the Rhodes Food Group, companies such as the Fridge Factory in Matsapa, companies such as the Conco Factory in Matsapa, the Mondelez Factory in Matsapa, and a few others. These are some of the companies that are already trading extensively in the continent, but are always looking to increase their market access in the continent.
Njengoba luhlelo lwelitiko letemfundvo lelatiwa ngele inqaba luqinisekisa ukuthi bonke abantwana besikole kuleli bathola imfundvo ngalokulinganako kwesekeleka kwebantwana labadzingile kutawukwenta ukuthi tinjongo talolu hlelo tifezeke. Lokho kushiwo nguLindiwe Dlamini longumcondzisi wetekweluleka etiko letemfundvo uma emukela kwekutigceba kwemantfombatane lasesikolweni. Lo mnikelo wentiwe inhlangano iBose Foundation emahhovisini elitiko letemfundvo.
Kuyasisita lokuthi bantwana bemantfombatana bahlale bakhona kuya esikolweni ngoba labanye bantwana badzingile kakhulu, uyakhanza ukuthi ngalelanga lokuthi baya emfuleni abasakhoni kuya esikolweni. Khona nebafana labathi nabafika kulesikhathi sekokuthi sebakhuhlukile nemantfombatana nakafika esikhatsini sekuthomba kuba khona lokho ukuthi badzinga lokhu kwema roll on netintfo nje tekuthi gceba ukuthi bakhombise ukuthi bona mina ngumuntu wesilisa, mina ngumuntu wesifazana.
Munye wabasunguli benhlangano iBose Anele Shabangu uthi lo msebenzi labawuchubako udzinga onke emaswati ukuthi afake isandla kuwo njengoba kufunza kahle nekudethemba kwabantwana labangemantfombatana kungaletha ikusasa lelihle leleSwatini.
What we did differently this time around was good to see partnership in the ministry. Instead of us going straight to schools to donate, as no, as well make a ministry because bona bayati ukuthi sitting or sikuphi singakanani futhi. Sitting or sema pads sikhulu kakhulu. It's a monthly thing njengoba sathi sonke, and unfortunately imfo le indalo lokude lesingakwenda ngayo. So kumcoka kakhulu, and I hope my partners atochubeka siphume lo mkhankaso lesiwuphumile. kumcoka kakhulu for ukuthi nebantu bakhona ukusivetela lokho labangazivetela kona.
Ngekusho kwelucwaningo lwangeminyaka wa-2020 lolwendiwa inhlangano yakamhlaba i-UNFPA ibambisane nenhlangano i-WaterAid Eswatini bomake kanye nemantombazana labangama-70 ekhulwini abafinyeleli kahle kude kuhlanteka uma basemalangeni abo. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV ngoMbongwa Dube eMbabane.
Imibutho yetekuvikela lokufaka ekhatsi yemasotsha emaphoyisa kanye netisebenzi temnyango wekucondzisa timilo babambe umthandazo lapho bebakhulekela ukuthi basebenze ngekwethembeka umnyaka usasuka. Umphathi wemasotsha Mashikilisane Fakutse uthi banxusa umdali ekutheni abavikele basaqhuba umsebenzi wabo.
Umphathi wemasotsha General Mashikilisane Fakutse uchaza ngobumcoka balomthandazo.
Sithi thandazela sine ukuthi sikwende ngekwethembeka. Sithandazela emakhosi kuvikeleka kwawo. Sithandazela sive semaswati kuphepha leminyaka lomuhle. Sisasebenza lemisebenzi lesusebenzayo.
Lokunye lokunakekile kulomthandazo ukuthi yena umphathi wemasotsha uthulele emasotsha umphathi wenkampu lungumuntu wesifazane lona ngumlombuso Dlamini. Lokhu kuqala ngca emlandweni ukuthi kube nenkambi emasotsha lephethwe ngumake. Lokhu kuhambisana neligoli lesihlanu lakamhlaba ihlangene entufukweni lekhonsako lelikhuthatha ukulingana kudebulili lokufaka ekhathi emi-17 etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla ngisembabane.
Njengoba umnyaka losetulu kungumnyaka welukhetho eveni laseNingizimu Afrika, lehhovisi lalonxuselele lalive kuleli lithanza kwatisa sive saseNingizimu Afrika lesikuleli ngetizathu letahlukene kutheni sesingabhalisela lukhetho lwalela live. Ngekusho kwembiko lokhishelwe etindlu tetindzaba lehhovisi lithi libandla lelikhetho eNingizimu Afrika i-Independent Electoral Commission selikwende kwaba malula kubhalisela lukhetho noma ungaphandle kwalela live. Njengoba kwekucala ngca emlandweni walela live ukuthi kubhaliseke ngetebuciko. Lo mbiko uthi bantu baseNingizimu Afrika labafuna kubhalisela lolukhetho bangangena ku-portal lethi online.elections.org.za.vote portal. online.elections.org.za.vote portal. Lelo hhovisi lithi lokhu kugunyatwa ngumthetho lowengamele likhetho wema-73 weminyaka wa-1998 kanye-ke naleminye imigomo lehambisana nawo. Lo mbiko uqhubeka ukuthi labo baseNingizimu Afrika labafise kutobhalisa mathupha bangavela emahhovisini alelinxusa lase-New Mall eMbabane nangempelasonto yamhla ka-27 kanye namhla ka-28 kulesetulu. Kubhekeke ukuthi lo bhalisako abe nesichazabuve saseNingizimu Afrika lesilibhuku nobeke likhadi kanye nepassport yakulela live. Bangetulu kwemakhulu lasihlanu lababhalisele kuyohlinzwa emehlo esibhedlela seLuke Commission esitfokodvo. Njengaloko kunabochwephesha labedelelo umsebenzi lapha eveni. Lokhu kushiwo ngumbongiseni Thela longumcondzisi wetekusebenta kulesibhedlela. Kanti Thela bekhuluma ngesikhathi labo lesebasitakele bakhishwa emabhandishi emehlweni. Kanti uthi labo chwephesha batawuba kuleli isikhathi lesingemaviki lamabili.
Lokuhlinza labo labanetinkinga letehlukene temehlo lesibhedlela sakucala eminyakeni lelishumi leyengcile kanti labe basuswa emabhandishi bebalikhulu-15. Mbongiseni Thela uchaza ngalolu sito kanye netinsayeya lababhekane nato basibhedlela.
Bayafika emaswati atawufika esibhedlela atothola lo sito kanjalo nale ngephandle kuma-communities siyawathola. Athi-ke nake fikile bese siyawagcina-ke kulolu hlelo lithuke lweluvelo kule ecosystem la khona sitabagcina emafayileni bese sitabatshela ukuthi sitabashayela nini. Lesicela nje emaswatini ngiloko lokusibambisane kubeni sesisho ukuthi iLuke Commission inetinkinga lapha nalapha idzinga lusito financial ukuthi sichubeke. Akusiko ukuthi sikawubona ukuthi kutawuchubeka umgamu longanani lokho. Kodwa uma ngabe kude le support financially angeke kukhonakale lo sito lemaswati lela balibonako namuhla.
Laba sitakele abawuvali umlomo.
Sibonga longapheli. Siyakuthandazisa ukuthi uchubeke uyembili. Staff sonke nabo baphathi labakhulu hayi siyajabula bekunene.
Ngibonge kakhulu ubodokotela lebaneluthando nathi.
Commission isithekile ezibandlana nabantu abadala sithole lo ebeselo sikufuna ebeselo sikhanyuka.
Lesibhedlela sigcini nje ngekusita labo labangasaboni kahle emehlweni kodwa siphinde sisite labo labanemehlo langemasoli ukuthi siwacondzise. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV ngumbongo waDube eSitokoto.
Masipala welidolobha lasenhlangano sewukhiphe incwadi yokuthi utasivala sakhiwo senkantolo yamanje yenhlangano mhla ka-31 kule nyanga yaseTulu. Kanti-ke lokhu kungetizathu ukuthi lesakhiwo siphambene nemthetho wekuhlandeka.
Masipala welidolobha lasenhlangano sewukhiphe incwadi leyatisa manje lomkhulu wenkantolo yamanje yenhlangano kuthi le nkantolo itawuvalwa ngalesithathu wamhla ka-31 kule nyanga leseTulu. Lo masipala uthi inhloso ukuvikela abantu labasuke bede kutawufuna lisito lwenkantolo. Le ncwadi ichubeka iveta tincabekelwano letikhomba ukuthi isimo salesakhiwo senkantolo siphambene nemthetho we-Public Act wa 1969 letifaka ekhatsi tindlu tangansense lesetingasasebenti, kuvuta kwemathayela, emasailing lalengako, lufa lolugcwele emabonzeni naphansi, kanye netinsambo tagesi letisebaleni. Lo masipala uphindze uyaveta ukuthi eminyakeni lophelile nathi ngomhla ka-23 May wayikhipha incwadi yokuthi sivalwe lesakhiwo kepha kude kube namuhla solokude lokwentiwe. Kanti elangeni layitolo indvuna yetemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo umhlonishwa umvanenkosi Simelane usivakashele lesakhiwo lapho manje lomkhulu Joseph Dlamini ayatisile indvuna yetemtsetfo ukuthi eminyakeni lophelile bayitfola incwadi lebuya kumasipala leyathi asivalwe lesakhiwo. Manje lomkhulu uphindze watisa indvuna ukuthi makunesidingo sekusebentisa tindlu tangansense bayaye basebentise leto tetakhiwo letakhele nedvute nenkantolo. Indvuna yetemtsetfo isikhutile lesento sekuthi lesakhiwo sisebente ngaphandle kwetindlu tangansense. Lobika-ke tindzabeni te-Eswatini TV nguthando kuhle Mdluli ngisenhlangano.
Kutemidlalo umphathi wenhlangano lengamele kudlalisa ibhola lapha eveni Frederick Mkometulu uthi selivele likhona likomiti ngaphansi kwalenhlangano lelinikwe umsebenzi wekunaka kanye nekuphuka inqubekela phambili yebhola yabomake. Mkometulu uthi leli komiti litawuphindze linake tindzaba telikhetselo lesive labomake Sithebesa Mhlekazi.
Tinhlelweni letasekunyiswa inhlangano lengamele umdlalo webhola kuleli eminyakeni lophelile lokubheka ukuthi tichubeke nakulomnyaka loseTulu ifake ekhatsi tinhlelo tekunaka kanye nekuthuthukisa ibhola yabomake. Ngekusho kwaFrederick Mgomezulu longumphathi wenhlangano lengamele ibhola kuleli selivele likhona likomiti lelitawubuka ibhola yabomake litawuhlala njalo libikela lenhlangano nenqubekela phambili yebhola yabomake.
Ukuthuthukisa ibhola yabomake lapho besibone khona nemiphumela ngakubomake bengasi kahle. Mabandla ke yawahlanganisa ibhola labukuyona ibhola yabomake. Ikakhulu kade kunelibandla le-technical committee lelibuke kudlaliswa kwawo onke ama-national teams. Kwaba nelibandla leliphethe yona ibhola nje yabomake jikelele sithi Women's Football Committee kanye nalabo labadlalisa ibhola emacembu abomake esigabeni leseTulu laba be-Women's Football Association. Lapho bahlanganiswa khona nayo i-department yaka-technical lebesibuka ama-strategies. Wabonakala ukuthi kuningi lefathi kwendeke ka-women kuze ukuthi ibhola yabomake ithuthuke kodwa ngekubukeka ukuthi lokhu labede nako kuningi kakhulu nokuthi bekungakabekwa tikhathi ukuthi lokhu akwendeke nini. Kuthiwe lehhovisi aselibuyele emuva selide emavikini lamabili noma kumbe nakuthi umhlangano lolandzelako lotawuba khona enyangeni letako ya February. Ukuthi kute sekushiwo ukuthi cha lokhu akwendeke nini lokhu kwendeke nini lokhu kwendeke nini kwendiwe mbani futhi ukuze ukuthi sitobona ukuthi iyathuthuka ibhola yabomake.
Okuyinkinga kakhulu ebholeni yabomake kufaka ekhatsi labo labayisekela ngetimali ikakhulukati etigabeni letingaphasi. Bebikela umsakazi Eswatini TV temidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kanti umbiko uhlanganiswa nguFabrice Msonera eMbabane.
Lilunga lenhlangano yemidlalo wemotorsport Banele Dlamini uthi lo mdlalo usebenzisa lonke lihlobo lwemotolo uma kuchuthelwana. Dlamini ke uthi lo mdlalo ufana ncamashini emidlalo yangaphandle kwelive lefaka ekhathi iFormula 1. Dlamini bekakhuluma nalo msakazo eMpabane.
I-motorsport is a combination of itututu netimoto kanye kanye, but in a secured environment ilandzele ama-safety measures kuthi bavuselane badlale kureswe kune konke but in a controlled safety matter. Kutimoto nje lenye timoto tiba non-turbo, tiba turbo charged, kunema-classes lamaningi esiwanzelayo bese sekuba nema-spinning endzaweni kahle. So kunema-classes lamaningi lasiwalandzelako khanza ukuthi inye imoto iti turbo, inye 2 liter, inye 2 liter turbo, inye 3 liter, inye V8 bese sawafaka lama-class asirese ngayo netitututu kanjalo netitututu abo 800cc, 900, 1000 kunama-categories bese saresa ngalo on the categories basis on the fairness. Ufuna kureyisa, ufuna kuparticipate, you can come, they're welcome. The-registration ikhona, now sisakhona local, yes, with your car. Formula unokhanda set moto tabo seti but nakhona baqala siqala khona. The process is to start where we are to build your car and then uyaqhubeka siyembili. Ikhona izawuthi iningi ilada sanjinye wenye kwabo but kuyadependa ukuthi ufuna wendani. Khanza ukuthi nyalo nje kutawusukelisa inang ubuntu run nang ema-bikers where they'll travel all over the world. Saturday tawuba ne-route yabo, South Africa ne-route yabo, Mozambique iba ne-route yabo. That's also inang motorsport and then the bikers route.
Betingako tindzaba teSwati yasibahlole emakethe masibuya sichubeka nelihlelo lethu lomdlalo.
This weekend Eswatini, your official weekend party starter. Tune in for the best of entertainment. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send your shout-outs. Be sure to catch our movie segment where we review and give updates on all latest movies. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela nalo sanzako sivulela it's a Friday ngabo lesihlanu stika donating zaba tekubhadalwa kwemthelo with the Eswatini Revenue Service team. Today, the Eswatini Revenue Service joins the global community in the commemoration of International Customs Day 2024. Ngaphansi kwesicubulelo sithi Customs engaging traditional and new partners with purpose this Friday the 26th. Kapha singangeni nje kiyo leso sihloko leso sawubuka nje i-recap sibuke i-Customer Week leyaguja last year October with the Commissioner General Brightwell Nkambule. Asivusela msuthu sama ukuthi nasi lomhla ekseni ngifuna nje ukuthi sibuka nje i-recap because ngikumele ukuthi the last time you were here wakhuluma ngayo Customer Service Week ukuthi nidabene ndani ningu ERS sikuva nje ukuthi yahamba kanjani i-Customer Service Week.
Sivusele Mthombeni, sivusele ema-clients ethu, sivusele nabo bonke lababukela lolu hlelo. Sibonga kakhulu lelithuba lekuvela lapha. Sikhulume ngemisebenzi lesiyendako as Eswatini Revenue Service, especially le commemoration yale International Customs Day. Yes, uma sigcina lapha nga-October kulomnyaka lophelile besite uphakamisa i-Customer Service Week and siyajabula kubika namhla ukuthi yahamba kahle kakhulu i-Customer Service Week. Naliphela nje leli viki kulesa sikhathi kwaba ne-event lapho khona ema-organizations la ekhaya Eswatini are-recognizedwa by the customer service professionals and ngiyajabula kubika ukuthi sahamba kahle saphumelela sing Eswatini Revenue Service saphuma embili kuma categories lamabili leyokuqala bekungu Public Enterprise of the Year saphuma embili leyesibili bekungu Strategic Leader with Excellence Award nalapho saphuma embili. So sine loku kuyasikhuthaza kakhulu ngoba kukhombisa ukuthi le transition lesayenda from Eswatini Revenue Authority to Eswatini Revenue Service iyabonakala iyavakala le mitamo yethu ukuthi si transition from being authoritative to a service ibe ne impact iyavakala la ngaphandle so kusikhuthaza kakhulu.
So because during leli viki la customer service week tikhala niyatithatha musi tema clients mhlambe nama suggestions nama opinions ukuthi mhlambe ni service ningasebenzisana kanjani kwaba ngidimvo leti kanjani nje mhlambe letavetwa ngema clients tikhalo mhlambe nama suggestions.
Tikhalo ngidawuthi nje lesikhulu lesaqhamuka ngisase border emahekeni ema clients eflamanengi abekhala ngalokuthi kuhle kuba nema blockades eborder uthole ukuthi impahla atisangeni tiphume nje ngekukhululeka so bakhala ke vele lapho kakhulu ngidawuveta ukuthi yini ema solutions leswabekako to address that. Ngaphandle kokukhala ke babasivumisa vele labanengi empeleni basivumisa kakhulu ukuthi bayayibona le effort lesiyibekako yekuthi sikhulumisane nema clients ethu nekusema clients ethu siwaphathe kahle ngalokuthi lo msebenzi wethu udinga ukuthi sethembane nema clients ethu ngoba nasethembana kutawuba lula noma sesithi kubo bika siyayisibika nje siyayisisho nje ukuthi abafaka imibiko nasithi bika utawubika ngalokuphelele nathi sitawethemba ukuthi ubike ngalokuphelele la ngekhathi kuma domestic taxes naka customs sithi asithembane utobika ngalokuphelele and kuze ukuthi si improve le trust sithi sitakuphatha kahle siphinze futhi sikufundzise ngema obligations akho emthelo neasemahekeni so that we can achieve this voluntary compliance nema clients ethu. Lama processes ethu lamanengi vele athi kusho wena uthi ngaka domestic taxes ngisebenzele okungaka umthelo ungaka kusho wena naka customs kanjalo kusho wena uthi timpahla lengidingenisako tingaka ivalue yemthelo ingaka so uyabona vele lokuthembana ngidawuthi kuyi cornerstone yalo msebenzi wethu. So le award githi isikhombisa ukuthi ema clients ethu ayasi recognize nathi ayasithemba nathi siyawethemba.
Yeah. Okay, kokugcina nje Msufu before we move on to today's topic. Ngifuna ukuvela ukuthi sinibonile ningi areas ukuthi vele senisukile vele kula egcwaliseni kwamaphepha cishe onke ama services enu mhlambe sena provider online bamfumele ukuthi seni digital kahle kahle vele mhlambe is that not one of my clients my concerns and my clients and athini nje nani nababuka le approach lesanamba ngayo.
Labanengi bayabonga bayajabula futhi ngakubekisela nje kukhona nangu umbiko lesiyaisithi tax compliance certificate TCC le TCC itolo bekudingakala ukuthi ema clients ethu ehoffice nakato applyela iTCC iTCC idingakala emisebenzini leminengi yelive ngawubekisa nje kulomnyaka lophelile besine ma elections nala part of the conditions ukuthi ube eligible ukuthi participate kufuna ube tax compliant. Itolo ndawuthi kulo yamnyaka bothola ukuthi betale office labo laba fisa kungenela likhetho ukuthi batothola ema tax clearance tax compliance certificates. Kulomnyaka lophelile bese sifake ifacility ukuthi utatendela nje nawe ungatendela la licingweni uyatendela nje le tax compliance certificate. So you can imagine ukuthi the thousands of citizens that participated in the election would have been so frustrated had we still had the old processes.
Sabaya malayini.
So nyalo bebavele batendele nje bona. So bayajabula kakhulu nemabhizinisi ke mabhizinisi lamanengi adzinga ukuthi na utotenderisha wena ungisupplier uprovide le tax compliance certificate. Nyalo uyatendela nje le tax compliance certificate. Ndawungena kancane kunalo kwasemahekeni as well. Emahekeni lama systems ethu nyalo akasafani nayitolo. Kuthi itolo bekudzingakala na ungitrader ungenisa timpahla bekudzingakala ufike la eborder ufakela amaphepha akho before khona kungena. Nyalo awusadzingi lokufika eborder. Ngisho nje usuka eJozi uyafaka lama i-declaration yakho uyayifaka la ku-system useJozi ayibuke customs ayiprocess bese customs water. So uyafika lapha sekuncanela kutowendiwa la eborder ngalokuthi amaphepha akho sekafakiwe. So ngileto naleti indlela lesitendile to digitalize our operations and vele labo labakusebenzisako bayakujabulela kakhulu. Sinayo ke ngidawuthi i-alternative yokuthi labo labasothola ukuthi bayaciciyela abakhoni ukutendela. Labo uyithola ukuthi bayeta ehhovisi but sebayancipha kakhulu njengoba wathi nje ukuthi nyalo phose every citizen is digitally aware nyalo. Sebancipha kakhulu laba labangakwazi ukusebenzisa ama-digital platforms.
Okay. No, ngiyavakala cha. Kuyabonakala sithi ukuthi vele senisebenzile senizamele ukuyithuthukisa ARS njengoba senashintsha nje to authority to service. So ngifuna sibuke ke itopic yalamuhla International Customs Day. Limcoka kangakanani lelanga leli kithi as Eswatini Revenue Service?
Lelanga limcoka kakhulu tatewethu lelo kakhulu. Nangaye emva kancane nje ngithi lelanga leli li-celebratewa onke ema-customs administration emhlabeni la under the World Customs Organization. The World Customs Organization inemalunga la about 185 wemave lamhlabeni and baprocessa 98% of global trade. So uyakhona ke ngemehlweni ngqondo kubuka ukuthi i-organization lenkulu kangakanani lena. So nathi si-affiliate lapho siyi-member kule organization. So umhlaba wonke ku-celebratewa leli langa leli. Lesicubulo nje salonyaka sithi customs engaging with traditional and new partners with purpose. Si-emphasize lokuthi customs asebenda kumqoka lokuthi axhumane nema-stakeholders akhe. Ngidawubekisa nje kutawusheshe kubonakala ukuthi eborder kuna customs lolobonakala kakhulu visible kuna customs kepha maningi ema-agencies ahulumende lane say ekungeneni nekuphuma kwetimpahla. Ngibekise ngelubisi ukuthi lubisi luregulatewa ngu-dairy board. Tilwane tiregulatewa yi-VAT. Umbila timpuphu tiregulatewa ngu-NAMPOD. Lama-gadgets lawa lesiwasebenzisako esicom nguyo lona eligunya leku-type approver lama-gadgets. Ema-televisions siyathi ukuthi akuphi ngeke ngisho. So yabona ukuthi maningi lama-agencies lane say on what can be imported and exported. So then the partnership then becomes extremely important ukuthi singema-regulatory agencies nje kufuna ukuthi sichumane. Also kudzingakala ukuthi sichumane very closely with the traders themselves because thina sisebenzela bona in plain language we work for them. We are assisting them in making it easy for goods to come in and go out of the country. So yabona ukuthi le sicubulo nasithi engaging with purpose sisho kuthini. Sisho ukuthi kufuna sichumane ukuze ukuthi sikhone ukusebenzisana kahle le emahekeni. Ngidawungeta njengekuthi i-Ministry of Commerce ya set up i-National Trade Facilitation Committee supervisor the implementation of the trade facilitation agreement. So ngilapho ngile platform vele lemile every quarter siyamitha singema regulators thina si enforcement agent nalaba labasebenzisa tekutfutsa even ne private sector siyayimitha nje kanye kanye kubukwa ukuthi in the medium to long term yini imitamo lesingayenda to make it easy for traders to move goods in and out of the country. Nganze kancane ngithanda kubekisa ke ukuthi uma ngabe unebusiness kamanzini ufuna uyo deliver steak uvela ugibele emotweni thatha impahla takho uyo deliver steak angithi but nangabe le customer lakho seli ngaphandle kwale live bese kuyacela sekuyenyukela lapho because emave ngamave ane ma controls ukuthi uma ngabe ufuna kuletha lokho eveni lami funeka nak. So le platform yaka WCO yenda lokuthi sonke singemave sibe nema processes lafanako kube lula nje ukuthi nangithatha leti impahla tami kamanzini ngitimikisa eJozi noma eMaputo nive ngazi ukuthi ngitimikisa eSteki noma enhlangano. So nazi si trade facilitation agreement lo msebenzi wethu ukuthi sikwende ukuthi kube seamless abelula lama processes ekuhambisa leti impahla ukuthi tenge la emahekeni
and ku achievable
ku nangakubekisela nje tsatsa ngithi nga 2021 uma senda no before 2021 the average time to process my declarations a border was above 4 hours. So nga 2021 nasenda lolu cwaningo sakhanza ukuthi it's about 4 hours. Nyalo si ne target ukuthi sifuna ku reduce by 2 hours. Okay. Because the average time by 2026 it must not be more than 2 hours average. Average meaning lokunye uthola ukuthi kutaba bo 5 minutes 10 minutes. Lokunye maybe kube slightly longer but sifaka konke even nalokusesha kuthi nje on average you should not spend that much time. Kepha ke sinema categories la hlukahlukene ema traders lawo la nema diplomatic customs diplomatic passports lawo again ayenqa nje.
So sidesikhathi enkambo kwegcina nje kuva ukuthi lelanga lamuhla is the ARS commemorating it lelanga lamuhla?
Yes, we are commemorating this day namhla simeme lama members at National Trade Facilitation Committee simeme i-private sector simeme i-media simeme other regulatory agencies simeme ema-ministries akahulumende lendasi kutawube kukuhle sidabe sibafundzisa futhi ngathi sidabe sibakhombisa futhi lokunengi lokukhona lese sikusebentile lokufacilitate i-trade lokwenda ukuthi ngicela ukukushana igama lelithi lokwenda ukuthi nawususa impahla takho kamanzini tiye eSteki or enhlangano kube that easy noma sowutimikisa ngaphandle kwelive.
Okay. No, ngiyavakala kakhulu Nkambule. Mbule, that was the Commissioner General wenkampani Eswatini Revenue Service. Sichazela kabanti njengelanga lamuhla lelimcoka International Customs Day labatabe baliguba as the ERS. Let's take a break. Sabe sichubeke nehlelo.
WHO and the International Labour Organization have recently released estimates about how many workers are exposed to sunlight at work and how many of them get skin cancer, specifically non-melanoma skin cancer as a result of long exposure to sun. How does sun cause skin cancer? Who is at risk? And how can you, your employer, and your government keep you safe? Here to talk about it is Dr. Frank Pega. Welcome, Frank. Frank, explain to us how intense exposure to sunlight can cause non-melanoma skin cancer.
So outdoor workers regularly work under the intense sun, sometimes for really long periods of time, and sun comprises ultraviolet radiation. When this type of radiation hits skin cells, it can damage their DNA, and that can in turn lead to skin cancer, where these skin cells basically grow uncontrolled. There are two main types of skin cancer. Melanoma is the more deadly type. We looked at non-melanoma, which is the type that is less deadly but much, much more common and a big problem. Non-melanoma skin cancer commonly appears as either a red firm lump or a flat scaly patch that doesn't heal for several weeks. So outdoor workers are at a 60% increased risk compared to indoor workers from having a non-melanoma skin cancer. This kind of skin cancer is commonly seen on the face, on the ears, or on the head, but also the arms and the legs where workers are most exposed to the sun. So for example, imagine a farmer who plants or harvests rice. That worker will be exposed intensively to the sun for a really long time, and the surface of the water that has the flooded fields that the worker is standing will be reflecting back, aggravating the exposure.
So Frank, talk to us about how many people get non-melanoma skin cancer as a result of sun exposure at work. And does this depend on what kind of country we live in, whether we are in a low-income, middle-income, or high-income country?
It's many more people who are working outdoors and who die as a result of non-melanoma skin cancer from this exposure than we could have possibly imagined before we did our estimates. About 1 in 4 workers globally is actually exposed to intense sunlight at work. That's a staggering 1.6 billion people globally.
So these are the farmers in the rice field, the construction workers, the people who are working in the non-organized sector for long hours under intense sunlight.
That's correct. So these are outdoor workers who live primarily in low and middle income countries and who are often working in the informal economy where they don't have any health protections that formal employment would afford to them. 1 in 3 non-melanoma skin cancer deaths are actually from working under the sun. So that's about 19,000 deaths globally each year. If you work outdoors, you're at a higher risk. And we find that the number of people who die from non-melanoma skin cancer in each region per population is almost equal. So it's a global problem. Additionally, it's a growing problem because the numbers have doubled in the last 20 years.
So Frank, what can governments do and what can workers do to protect themselves from long exposure to intense sunlight and from skin cancer?
Governments can pass regulations and policies that can prevent outdoor work that is hazardous because it's under the sun. For example, governments can reorganize work. They can require that workers reorganize so that working under the sun is shifted away from solar noon and therefore away from the intense sun. Governments can also implement requirements that workers are provided with shade when they work outdoors. This is something that we've seen a lot. Countries in the Eastern Mediterranean region and the Western Pacific already have these types of regulations in place. Additionally, governments can provide public health information. This is very important. They can talk about sun safety protocols and protective measures that can be taken. Also important is there can be a requirement that workers are provided with protective clothing. They can wear broad-brimmed hats, long-sleeved shirts, long trousers, and also there could be a provision of sunscreen where it's effective and deemed possible. Additionally, it's important that we have functioning health services and systems where skin cancer is prevented and we have workers being regularly checked so that skin cancer can be detected early and can be treated. And finally, but importantly, governments can recognize skin cancer from occupational exposure to the sun as an occupational disease and include it in workers' compensation schemes.
Thank you, Frank. That was Science in 5 today. Until next time then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stick with science.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news. We bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is the news at 7. The Prime Minister, His Excellency Russell Dlamini, has arrived in Italy, where he is expected to represent His Majesty King Mswati III during the Italy-Africa Summit.
On the 28th to the 29th of January, the government of the Republic of Italy is expected to host the Italy-Africa Summit here in Rome. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni will present a strategic plan for the continent. The plan is named after Enrico Matteo, an Italian public administrator who in the 1950s advocated for Italy to support North African governments to grow their economies and develop their natural resources. Around 40% of Italy's gas come from African producers, and despite 80% of irregular arrivals into Italy coming from North African ports, Rome's attempts to cooperation on migration have failed. The climate and energy crisis, political instability and irregular migration are unlikely to go away anytime soon. The Prime Minister was received by the Ambassador of Eswatini to this region, Nomthandazo Mbuyisa. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Lincoln Gule in Rome.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Her Excellency Kusile Dladla, says it is important for Eswatini to support programs of disabled people, including those who are deaf, in order to ensure that they are not left behind. Dladla says government wants sign language to be made one of the official languages in the country. She said this when officially opening a sign language studio for the Deaf Association, which will be of great assistance in their programs.
The studio shall help to, among other things, translation of a sign language curriculum, ensuring that important educational information available in English and Siswati is translated into the sign language and accurately. Also to strengthen sign language literature classes for deaf children to ensure that they communicate effectively in sign language grammar. This facility shall be used for the continuation of translation of the Bible into sign language. This is another important aspect of the lives of the deaf, having the Bible in your own language. As a country, we are proud to have this facility.
The Minister of Information, Technology and Communications, Honorable Savannah Mazia, says the studio symbolizes government's shared commitment to use technology for social inclusion and improving Eswatini citizens' lives.
I believe the studio will fulfill its intended purpose of enriching and empowering the lives of citizens, particularly those of the deaf community, aligning with His Majesty the King's recent call at the Sibaya.
The Minister of Education and Training, Honorable Owen Nxumalo, is represented by the Ministry's Director of Education, Dr. Ntombenhle Dlamini.
We are now going to be able to get into embracing more technological methodologies in making sure that our learners are able to access education in a holistic manner.
National Deaf Association Director Makosini Makopu says the studio will help in shaping Eswatini education curriculum, among other things.
We can focus on changing deaf education, working with the ministry. We can also do more, like we do the Bible translation. There is more we can do, even at Swazi TV. Deaf people want to be involved, which means we can do many things in that area.
The Deaf Digital Sign Language Studio worth 1.5 million in Malangen was constructed with the assistance of Eswatini Communications Commission. The Commission's Chief Executive Mvilawempi Dlamini says this is a symbol of inclusivity and that no one should be left behind in this digital era, and everyone should access information. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Themba Shabangu. Lobamba.
About 20% of the country's children aged under 5 years are stunted. This is but one of the indicators contained in the snapshot report of the Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, which has been launched by the Minister of Economic Planning and Development, Honorable Tambogina, who was represented by the Undersecretary Siboniso Masilela.
The sixth multiple indicator cluster survey, which started in 2019, was delayed by the advent of COVID-19 and ended after 4 years instead of 1 year. The Minister of Economic Planning, who was represented by the Undersecretary Siboniso Masilela, explains the importance of this.
This collects data on the situation of households, women, men, and children. The main objective of the survey is to provide up-to-date information on core national indicators to assist policymakers and program implementers to monitor and evaluate existing policies, programs, and evaluate the country's achievement on the Sustainable Development Goals. The survey produces indicators on education, health, social protection, and other issues of national importance affecting children, women, and men.
On another note, the snapshot report says only about 31% of parents commit themselves to assisting their children under 4 years of age with school-related early childhood development. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Mbonga Dube, Manzini.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Manxeba Khumalo, says Eswatini is set to commence trade under the AfCFTA agreement from the 31st of January 2024. The minister says this follows the issuance of a gazette issued by the International Trade Administration Commission on behalf of the 5 SACU member states, including Eswatini. Khumalo says there will be rules agreed to avoid trade diversion where products from outside the country are imported into the continent and further sold within the continent as if they were manufactured in the continent and further sold within the continent as if they're manufactured in the continent.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade has already engaged traders to take advantage of this great opportunity to penetrate the African market. As a tool of enhancing trade under the AfCFTA agreement, Eswatini has since joined other AfCFTA partner states that are part of what we call the Guided Trade Initiative, GTI. This Guided Trade Initiative assists to connect businesses in the private sector and products for import and export between the member states. Eswatini traders have registered their interest in being part of this initiative, and our International Trade Department in the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, in collaboration with the AfCFTA Secretariat, Eswatini Revenue Service, and the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, will be engaging with these traders to assisting them with increasing their market in the continent. The ministry is also engaged in discussions with key exporting companies such as the Eswatini Sugar Association, companies such as the Rhodes Food Group, companies such as the Fridge Factory in Matsapa, companies such as the Conco factory in Matsapa, the Mondelez factory in Matsapa, and a few others. These are some of the companies that are already trading extensively in the continent, but are always looking to increase their market access in the continent.
The Director of Educational Testing, Guidance and Psychological Services in the Ministry of Education and Training, Lindiwe Dlamini, says the ministry's program, known as Care and Support for Teaching and Learning, needs all Eswatini to support it in any way possible, as it seeks to keep all school-going children in class throughout the year. Lindiwe Dlamini said this when receiving a consignment of 300 sanitary pads from BOS Foundation. The donation was made at the Ministry of Education offices in Babane.
This is highly appreciated because it's going to assist us in improving the quality of education, more especially in terms of access, retention, and improving the performance, because you find that our girls, when they go on their monthly period cycle, they absent themselves, those that are vulnerable, because they do not have sanitary pads. As such, then you will find that these pads will facilitate reducing absenteeism in our schools. We know that both our boys and girls at adolescent stage, they experience some hygiene issues. You find that there's an odor to some level that make them being discriminated in the school.
One of the founders of Paus Foundation, Anele Shabango, says the project, which is aimed at keeping the girl child in the classroom, requires the contribution of every Leswati. She says an educated and confident girl child could mean a bright future for the country.
What we did differently this time around was good to see partnership in ministry. Instead of us going straight to schools to donate, as no, as well makes a ministry, because bona bayati ukuthi sitting or siguphi singakanani futhi sitting or sema pads sikhulu kakhulu. It's a monthly thing njengoba sathi sonke, and unfortunately imfo leyindalo lokude lesingakwenda ngayo. So kumcoka kakhulu, and I hope my partners atoqhubeka siphume lo mkhankaso lesiwuphumile. Kumcoka kakhulu for ukuthi nebantu bakhona ukusivetela lokho labangazivetela kona.
According to a water sanitation and hygiene study by UNFPA and Water Aid Eswatini in 2020, 70% of women and young girls do not have access to proper menstrual hygiene management in the country. Reporting, I'm Mbongwa Dube in Babane.
Security forces, including Umbutho Eswatini Defence Force, police, as well as His Majesty's Correctional Services, have held a prayer service where they were praying to serve the nation with dignity and honesty as 2024 begins. Army Commander General Mashikilisane Faguta says they pray that the Lord protects them. As 2024 is election year in the Republic of South Africa, the South African High Commission informs all South African citizens who are in the Kingdom of Eswatini for various reasons that they can now register to partake in the elections. In a media statement issued by the High Commission, the South African Independent Electoral Commission has for the first time made it possible for South Africans who live abroad to register through a portal which is online.elections.org.za/voter portal. The South African High Commission says this is according to the South African Electoral Act of 73 of 1998 and subsequent regulations. The Commission further informs those who would like to register in person to visit its offices located at the New Mall in Babane, as it will be open on the weekend of the 27th and 28th of January. It further advises South Africans who want to register to bring with them a South African identity book, temporary ID or ID card, and their South African passport. Over 500 patients have registered for eye surgery at the Luke Commission Hospital in Sitfokotvo. This was disclosed by the Director of Operations at the hospital, Mbongiseni Tela, during the removal of patches from patients who had been operated on. Tela said there are eye surgeons who are in the country for the 2-week exercise. In international news, fighting intensified on Wednesday in Gaza's Khan Yunis, the focus of Israel's war with Hamas, with the UN saying a shelter for the displaced was hit by deadly tank shelling as combat drew closer to hospitals. The Israeli army says it has encircled southern Gaza's biggest city, the birthplace of Hamas's Gaza chief Yahya Sinwar, accused of being the mastermind of the October 7th attacks that sparked the war.
On Wednesday, Israel mounted its biggest operation in a month as tanks moved in on western Khan Yunis. By evening, UN officials were reporting that one of their facilities, sheltering some 10,000 displaced people, had been hit.
And they've just been hit recently in the afternoon just now, and mass casualties have taken place. Some buildings are ablaze, and there's reported of deaths. Many people are trying to flee the scene but unable to do so.
The Israeli army claimed their operations were targeting a Hamas stronghold, and the army also said it had called on the civilian population to evacuate large swathes of Khan Yunis. But the fighting has made any movement particularly dangerous. Thousands of people who have already fled their homes in the north have once again found themselves taking to the roads by car or foot, many heading to Rafah. Meanwhile, an Israeli spokesperson ruled out the possibility of an immediate ceasefire after media reports circulated on Wednesday that a deal was on the table.
Israel will not give up on the destruction of Hamas, the return of all the hostages, and there will be no security threat from Gaza towards Israel. There will be no ceasefire.
On Monday, Israel suffered its worst daily death toll since the October 7 attacks. 24 soldiers died in 2 separate incidents. The Gaza Health Ministry puts the Palestinian death toll at over 25,000. Still, there remains no end in sight.
Questions remained on Thursday over the military plane crash that Russia said had killed dozens of captured Ukrainian soldiers ahead of a planned prisoner exchange. The Russian Defense and Foreign Ministries blamed Ukrainian forces for downing the IL-76 transport plane over the southern Belgorod region.
A day on from the Russian military plane crash, and the fallout continues, with a church memorial held for the pilots of the aircraft. Onlookers on Wednesday were shocked to see the IL-76 fall from the sky, followed by a huge ball of flames. Russian authorities said all personnel on board were killed, swiftly putting blame on Kyiv for the disaster. Moscow also declared that most of those on board were Ukrainians captured through Russia's invasion.
The Ukrainian prisoners of war were being transported to the Belgorod region in order to conduct yet another prisoner swap that was agreed between Moscow and Kyiv. Instead of this, the Ukrainian side launched an air defense missile from the Kharkiv region. It targeted the airplane and was a fatal strike.
While confirming that a prisoner swap was due to take place, Kyiv itself said it had no information about who was on the plane. But it did say that Russian military aircraft were legitimate targets and that it received no request from Russia to secure the airspace, normally the case in prisoner swaps. Ukraine's security service has meanwhile opened its own criminal probe into the events, with President Volodymyr Zelensky calling for an international investigation.
It is evident that the Russians are playing with the lives of Ukrainian prisoners, with the feelings of their families, and with the emotions of our society. It is necessary to establish all clear facts to the extent possible, considering that the plane crash occurred on Russian territory, beyond our control.
Russian media has since revealed that the plane's black boxes have been discovered, while lawmakers in Moscow say they gave Kyiv a 15-minute warning before the plane went down.
Former President Donald Trump, the likely Republican presidential nominee, is threatening to torpedo a deal that would free up $106 billion in foreign aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, and tighten immigration rules.
Backed by voters who consider immigration the most important issue in the 2024 race, former president and likely Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump won the New Hampshire primary Tuesday.
We have millions and millions of people flowing into our country illegally. They come from prisons and they come from mental institutions.
The victory is likely to embolden Trump to pressure Republican lawmakers to avoid a compromise on an immigration deal. He said on social media last week that Republicans should not agree to a border deal unless they get everything needed to shut down what he called an invasion by millions of people. The White House and senators from both parties have worked for months to hash out a deal that would provide $106 billion in security aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Republicans insist that it include funding to secure the border and a tightening of immigration rules. Last week, President Joe Biden said he was hopeful the package would pass at least the Senate.
Now, the question is for the Speaker and the House Republicans. Are they ready to act as well?
Immigration activists are pessimistic.
Congressional Republicans are not willing to put good faith policies on the table that bring into place a humane and orderly processing at the border and maintain asylum. Instead, we're seeing far-right Republicans dominate the debate, including former President Trump.
The border issue fires up the Republican base, and passing a bill that Democrats can claim as a win could hurt Republican messaging in an election year.
They don't want to do anything that might benefit Joe Biden and take this issue of the border off the table for the 2024 campaign.
As wars in Gaza and Ukraine continue to rage, foreign policy has become more of a concern among Americans this year. An AP Norg Center poll found 60% of Americans say foreign policy should be a top focus for 2024, up from 41% last year. 35% cite immigration as a top concern, an increase from 27%.
Alabama will attempt to put an inmate to death with nitrogen gas on Thursday night, a never-before-used execution method that the state claims will be humane, but critics call cruel and experimental.
It's an untested method of execution, which many experts consider torture. On Thursday evening, the state of Alabama plans to kill convicted murderer Kenneth Eugene Smith by replacing his air with pure nitrogen gas, causing him to suffocate. It's actually the second time the state has tried to kill Smith. In 2022, he was scheduled to die by lethal injection, but multiple attempts to insert an intravenous line failed. The United Nations Office of Human Rights said last week that execution by nitrogen suffocation could amount to torture. If the execution goes wrong again, it could last hours, cause strokes, or leave Smith in a vegetative state. But Alabama politicians have dismissed calls to treat people on death row humanely.
I don't know about degrading. I don't know about inhumane. And I don't remember exactly how the victim died, but I think it may be even better than what the process was that he did to the victim.
Critics say that regardless of Smith's crimes, it is not the state's place to replicate cruelty.
Someone says humane, and then the next thing is either an elected public official or a disgruntled member of the public or a judge says, well, he wasn't acting with humanity when he killed Mrs. Sennett, so therefore he's owed none. So this to me is a flagrant misunderstanding of what he is owed, which is simply that his execution cannot be cruel.
Suffocation represents the first new method of judicial execution since lethal injections were introduced in 1982. Barbiturates for lethal injections have become increasingly difficult to obtain, partly due to a European ban preventing pharmaceutical companies from selling drugs to be used to kill people.
Argentina's largest union started a 12-hour strike on Wednesday in a major demonstration in the heart of Buenos Aires against tough economic austerity measures and reforms by new Libertarian President Javier Milei. The action, hitting sectors from transportation to banks, is the biggest show of opposition to Milei's plans for spending cuts and privatization since he took office last month.
A little more than a month in the top job, Javier Milei faces massive dissent. Thousands of Argentinians took to the streets Wednesday to protest against the right-wing libertarian president, calling a general strike led by Argentina's largest union, rejecting his government's economic and labour reforms.
The urgent decree of President Javier Milei, which is an excessively extensive decree, interferes with more than 600 laws in force in Argentina, brutally attacks labour rights, curtails freedom of association, freedom of expression and free association.
The strikes oppose Milei's austerity measures that reduce benefits for unions and workers. A controversial figure, the new president campaigned for chainsaw, symbolising cutting public spending. The self-declared anarcho-capitalist ran in a pledge to tackle Argentina's crippling inflation, which had rocketed into triple figures by neoliberal measures, including scrapping half the government's ministries, selling state-owned companies, and eliminating the central bank. But some say his plan is going to make things even worse.
At 56 years old, I can tell you that I've already experienced this. 2001, we ate from the garbage. I'm not ashamed to say it. We live off barter, and I presume and sense that this sad history of Argentina is going to return to Argentina. That's why I'm here, for my family, for my colleagues, for my daughters, and for my grandchildren.
Argentinian Airlines reported 267 cancelled flights and more than 17,000 disrupted passengers. And the president's office said the strike will mean a loss of $2.5 million.
The leader of France's allied Chad hailed ties with Russia during a meeting on Wednesday with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who said the Kremlin would help to stabilize the African country. Chad is France's close partner in the Sahel region, and the meeting came as tensions between Moscow and Paris escalate over the conflict in Ukraine.
The leader of Chad is visiting Russia this week as Vladimir Putin continues his mission to extend Russia's influence in Africa. Chadian interim president Mahamat Idris Deby Itno signaled that he is amenable to the overtures.
I came here from a friendly country, a brother country, a sovereign country that wants to reinforce relations with a friendly country.
Deby has led Chad since 2021, when a military council took power shortly after his father, President Idris Deby, was killed fighting anti-government rebels. The junta initially promised an 18-month transition before elections, but has delayed them until next October, more than 3 years later. Last month, Chad's Supreme Court validated referendum results implementing a new constitution over the objections of opposition leaders who said the changes were made so Deby could stay in power. Putin said Russia is ready to be Chad's ally.
Dear Mr. President, we are closely monitoring the situation that is developing in your country. We are glad that it was possible to hold a referendum on the constitution. I'm confident that the elections will be held at a high level in the near future. We are glad that you have managed to stabilize the situation in the country, and we will do our best to assist in this matter.
Russia is looking to replace France's influence in the Sahel. Chad is France's last close partner in the regional war against Islamic jihadist militants. After they underwent political coups, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger all forced the withdrawal of French troops in 2022 and 2023. All three countries have since drawn closer to Russia.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has wrapped up a 4-country tour of democracy-supporting countries in Africa, meeting with Angolan leaders to highlight increasing cooperation on a railway infrastructure project.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken wrapped up his tour of Africa Thursday, saying the U.S. seeks more common ground and a shared future with democratic countries on the continent, including Angola.
At the White House in November, President Biden reaffirmed to President Lorenzo that this is a historic moment for the partnership between the United States and Angola. Our relationship is stronger, it's more consequential, it's farther reaching than in any point in our 30-year friendship. And at this transformational moment, President Biden asked me to come to Luanda to help build on and accelerate our progress.
In Angola's capital, Blinken reviewed what he said was faster than expected work on the Lobito Corridor Railway, connecting the country with the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia. It is the most ambitious U.S. infrastructure project on a continent where China has long been engaged in similar massive endeavors, says Africa expert Terry McCulley with the United States Institute of Peace.
The U.S. is investing significantly in Angola. The Lobito Corridor project, which will link Angola to DRC and Zambia, is the largest U.S. public investment in Africa in decades. And I think that's a signal that the U.S. wants to be engaged and a strong partner of African countries.
McCulley says the United States aims to show that it is a long-term partner at a time when Russia is ramping up its security ties with military-run states in Africa, and China is expanding its footprint through investment in infrastructure.
You see a resurgence in Russian efforts to influence in Africa, particularly through disinformation campaigns. China obviously is a very important player on the African continent, and let's be honest, the Africans value that relationship because China and Chinese companies have contributed a lot to the needed infrastructure projects that are essential for development.
Asked about partnering with the U.S. as opposed to Russia and China, Angola's foreign minister, Tete Antonio, had a diplomatic answer saying, "The best friend is the one that tells the truth." Blinken also praised Angola's peace efforts on the continent.
Angola is trusted by all sides. President Lorenzo's leadership is vital for a breakthrough.
President Joe Biden has said he is eager to visit Africa, but Blinken noted that the U.S. election imposes time constraints on him this year.
In our sports news, the Eswatini Football Association Chief Executive Officer Frederick Mgometulu says a technical committee has been established to monitor and evaluate football women in the country. He says the same committee will be giving special attention to women national teams, especially Sithebe Samhlekazi. Executive member of Eswatini Motorsports, Banile Dlamini, says any motor vehicle is eligible to take part in motorsport as long as it has all the requirements by the sport in order to compete. Dlamini says motorsport is similar to other international motor competition such as Formula One. He was speaking to Eswatini Sports in Babane. It's 7:30. We've come to the end of our English bulletin. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a break. We'll be back just now.
Mizuzu amashumi lamathathu nakuthathu igabence insimbi yesikhombisa ngoba lomhla sikomukela ehlelweni sithi awukhulumisa temidlalo nimsathele umsakado Fabrice Msonera who has joined me in studio. Fabrice, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's going to be a big weekend for the Premier League. We are going Ngwenyama Cup, but you know the excitement is still there for the Premier League because of the results leswabonile on the last weekend of the Premier League, and just what is unfolding really around the Premier League. Some of these games that are wakona kulempela sonto are very interesting, but a big concern around Babane Swallows neklimala kwebadlali babo. But I also heard another story that Gwake will no longer be leaving for Chippa United. So that's bringing hope to badlali fans Swallows lamanye bekavele sekeva buhlungu ukuthi uyahamba. But I'm not sure ukuthi athina ama sentiments akho ekuthenini le deal yakhe ingaphumeleli. Are you happy for Babane Swallows or are you sad for Gwake?
I'm sad for Gwake and I'm sad for the football fraternity. We need more of these, local players to be exposed internationally. And I would think, for me, at his age, this is one of the players who's gone through the ranks of the junior teams from the under-17 of the national team, under-20 and 23, now playing for the national team. And for me, if I'm to say, probably in the next 3 to 4 years, he's the future captain of Setlango, looking at his leadership quality and everything. So I'm sad for him and the football fraternity, because once he's out there, once he's playing for an international club, that's what we want. We want, whenever the national team Setlango Semnegat is playing, we want these players to come. And we've got Figueiredo at Richards Bay in the Republic of South Africa. Imagine if he was going to be there. We've got Mkolisi Mkondo, who left yesterday for Jaguar Galaxy in Botswana after signing a 2-year contract. There's a possibility of his brother from Babane Highlanders, Pirani Mkondo, also leaving for Black Leopards. So we want to expose more players. We've got a player also already in Botswana Police. So those are the things we want, so that whenever we have at least first 11, you've got 5 to 6 players. You can call your so-called international players. Glad for supporters from Venezuela. He's very key. He's very, one of their key players. But I mean, he's played his part. And at his age, let him go. That's what I want. And I think his journey is not done. More teams will come knocking. We've got Kostafa this year at some point in June, July. Trust me, with his performance, another team will be coming knocking. And who knows, he might get another chance. He's still young, under the age of 25. In local football, he's not young actually internationally. But for us, I think under the age of 25, you can still prove.
But Fabrice, my question then becomes, I mean, we've seen it happen before. I think even nasibuka nje minyaka endlulile, noma singathi nje a decade ago, over a decade ago, Taribo Bembe, our very own Taribo Bembe, who's our sports producer, lapha ekhaya Eswatini TV, also played in South Africa in the Premier League. Balele Pupus Konze also played. Felix Badenhorst. It's a few names that we can mention. Probably singababala nganatandla totimbili baphelele. But what it has done for them, even, Naseba Retaile, we call them legends and we see what they've done for the game. My question then becomes, do they really get there and stand the test of time but achieve a longevity and be forces to reckon with, or we are seeing it for the first time, or you could argue that with Figueiredo, who is very instrumental even in his team. We've seen him even being involved in some of important goals that side.
There are many reasons why. First of all, before I answer your question, there are many reasons why these players find it fit to go play in South Africa. First of all, is the state of finances in South Africa. Players, at least, you are guaranteed a specific basic salary. That's one. Two, which is good for the exposure and for a lifestyle. They also want to survive. They also want to live. Not to say they're not getting paid locally, but you look at the amount of money they get that side. It's motivational. For them, they need something like that. Two, it also opens doors for you. Who knows? From South Africa, you could get. It is easy to get agents in South Africa that can expose you outside the continent or up there in the north of Africa. And then you are exposed and you're able to get maybe to Europe or other countries. So we locally we need to start also getting these agents who can be able to get our players' teams. I mean, international players, they do come here, play 2 seasons, and then the next thing you hear, they're playing for another club in South Africa, in Botswana, or wherever. So we need more of our local players.
Let's
to
get into
exposed.
the weekend for Fabrice. I think the biggest game this weekend should be Mbabane Swallows versus Green Mamba, but also if you look at what is happening in Mbabane Swallows, even with Felix, they are quite not very optimistic about this game, but anything can happen. It is a big game. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. at Warsaw Sports Center, just after Muneni Pirates versus Manzini Wanderers. Which Sunday, is the biggest game this weekend?
You'd have to look at, it's one of the games that we highlighted, 27th of January on Sunday. Green Mamba, Mbabane Swallows, the defending champions, against Mbabane Swallows. They are aspiring to be the champions as well. They have issues like I highlighted. And I think that makes it a big game is the fact that Green Mamba from losing against Manzini Wanderers. So they have got that worry that if we get so relaxed and comfortable, Swallows can do the double on us, another double defeat against a local team. So they don't want that Green Mamba. They want to go to this game and get 3 points. It's a tight game. But for me, if you're to ask me, the game of the weekend, you'd have to go there on top of the screen. Manzini Wanderers, Muneni Pirates. The two Manzini Giants, they are both struggling. They are both at the bottom of the table. Whoever gets 3 points is putting himself in a good position. Remember, Denver Sundowns was able to get 3 points in midweek. They were playing their game, so they have shifted their performance. So that game, Pirates, they are really looking to get more numbers. I mean, the season is now getting towards the end. We've got 2 to 3 months left, so they know that 3 points might put them in a good position. For Wanderers, they're out of the Ngonyama Cup, so they know that this is the only thing they are left to. I think we had the captain the other day, Mlava, saying that they don't have a day off. They train daily to ensure that they don't lose a game. But things in Hotspurs, another team that I would say, I was actually telling someone that to me, the way they behave alongside their coach, Lexion Sergio, It's like they have arrived to the promise, they have reached the promised land. Because if you look at the excitement of the fans, the brand visibility, everything that has to do with the club. So they would want to get that 3 points, even though there are complaints that playing at King Sobuza every weekend, mostly, it looks like they are playing on home soil.
Yes,
because,
it's an advantage for
it's
them.
an advantage for them. But, I mean, look at now, Denver Sundowns, after, like I highlighted, look at Denver Sundowns after winning that game on Wednesday. They have got 11 points. So Manzini Wanderers, there is Eswatini United. Manzini Wanderers can jump to 14 above Denver Sundowns, depending on how Denver Sundowns will have played. But for Moroni Pirates, they are yet to register a win in the season. So for me, it is their day. They need to get 3 points. And once they get 3 points, then they are at par with Eswatini United. Then you have to start to say, now, the two teams to be relegated, it's anyone's, it's anyone's, performance. From number 11 to number 14, anyone can still go down. Anyone can still go down. Not sure about Rangers, but from 11 to number 14, anyone can go down. Remember, two teams have to be relegated.
Maybe just to emphasize how big of a game this Green Mamba Mbabane Swallows clash is, if we analyze their points, you really see that what this will do for Mbabane Swallows if they win this game is really important. But, my concern again, not having Felix Badenhorst on this game might just be...
Their bench is very, very rich. I think they've got good potential and youngsters who can deliver. So 3 points takes them to 28, depending also how Red Leopard would have played. Look at Madlenya. They're also number 4, 24 points. Yeah. This is why the league now is quite exciting. This is what we want. This is the football we want to watch. Look at number 1 and number 8, Bavane Highlanders. The only difference is 7 points between number 1 and number 8, which means there is only a difference of 3 games. Highlanders has to play 2 games with a win and a draw without number 1, winning. Obviously, it's quite difficult. But just to show the difference between number 1 and number 8, it shows how tight it is in our local game. But I've been impressed with Madlenya. Look at where they are today and what they just did last weekend during the Wenyama Cup. I mean, this is a team to watch. And then this is what we want. If they start now putting a good performance, we don't want the so-called big guns to always dominate, but we want such teams to come up from all the way down outside Manzini Mbabane corridor. When you have another team that is dominating like this, this is what we want.
One last thing I want us to analyze, I will ask for the log standings graphic to be on the screen yet again. I think I just recognized something super, super interesting regarding this weekend's clashes. And Fabrice, one last thing we need to correct. I think the 27th is tomorrow. Today is the 26th. Yeah, there we go. Green Mamba is playing.
Saturday.
Yeah, every game's tomorrow. Green Mamba is playing number 3, which is Mbabane Swallows. Royal Leopards is playing Madlenya, am I correct? Which is 2 and 4. Young Buffaloes is playing Ilova. So the top 6 teams are playing each other
amongst
this weekend. Probably one of the biggest weekends of the Premier League so far this year. What is going to pan out? What are your predictions coming back next week?
I'm giving it Green Mamba against Mbabane Swallows. They can extend the lead to 30 points. Then Madlenya Royal Leopard, it could be a draw. Based on the current performance of Leopard, they're lacking consistency. Then you've got Young Buffaloes. This is a team I would think will finish within the top 2 or top 3. Okay. Young Buffaloes. They gain momentum as the season, the season moves on. So it's quite interesting.
But you are giving Nsingizini Hotspurs a win this weekend.
Yeah, against Eswatini United at King Sobuza. So I think they have got what it takes. Fantastic.
So what I'm picking there is that when we come back on Monday, the only change that we'll probably see is Nsingizini Hotspurs climbing.
Yeah.
Almost every other team will still be in the same position.
Yeah, based on the performance between Leopard and Madlenya, the draw, in my opinion, will put Mbabane Swallows in a safe position. Right. Even though they will have lost against Green Mamba, the extension, it will be quite hard to 6 points now, but to 5 points now. So anything is possible. But I'm seeing Green Mamba walking away with the 3 points tomorrow on Saturday at Mavuso. It's a double header. So we start with Moroni Pirates and Manzini Wanderers. Then the second game, Green Mamba Mbabane Swallows. We can't wait.
One thing I also can't wait for is the round of 16 of the Africa Cup of Nations. Fabrice, we have an interesting fixture coming up for the Africa Cup of Nations. Angola versus Namibia, Nigeria versus Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea versus Guinea, Egypt and DR Congo is very interesting. But here are the current log standings. Would you have expected Cape Verde, like you have been, lamenting about if Eswatini had made it?
Yeah,
we would probably be
quite interesting. I'm feeling sorry for anyone who's not watching the AFCON, because I think for the past, 15 to 20 years since I've been watching AFCON, I would say this was one of the most exciting AFCON. Let's start with the SADC region. We had 6 teams in the AFCON from the SADC region. We had South Africa, we had Zambia, we had Namibia, we had Angola, we had Tanzania, and we had DRC. And 3 of those teams are into the last 16.
Very interesting.
So you have to then say, we not that I have anything against with the so-called huge guns from up north. Algeria is out, Tunisia is out, Ghana is out. So you then have to say, you have to say, this is the football we want to watch. Look at Angola, topping the group. Look at South Africa, number 2 in the group. Namibia qualifying also as 3rd best. Look at in the other group as well. DRC on top of Zambia. Zambia, of course, going home, lacking that best 3rd. This is what we want, because the fixture that now worries me for South Africa, they are playing against Morocco. Morocco currently on FIFA rankings, they are number 1 in Africa.
Wow.
Against South Africa,
but based on how unpredictable this Africa Cup of Nations has been, I wouldn't want to rule out South Africa just based off of Morocco being ranked.
The so-called the big guns, Nigeria, Cameroon, it's a tough game.
Yes.
But I want to give it to Cameroon. I was listening to Samuel Eto's speech to his players. He went to the dressing room after their qualification. He said, I've been here where you are. And when I was here, I was only 18. Playing with your coach, Erigo Pesson. So this is possible. And I can tell you, no one would be in the lineup if he doesn't deserve it. So I feel like he's a president/coach, because he gets to the dressing room and talks about what he believes in that team. That's a sad clash.
Yeah.
Angola, Namibia.
But before we get there, just highlight that game, that Cameroon versus Nigeria game. It's tomorrow, 10 p.m. State Felix Stadium. Everyone's looking ahead.
It's a game to watch.
Excited to watch the game.
It's a clash to watch. You look at stars from the Nigerian side. Osman is there. Alex Iwobi is there. Kylian Ikachi is there from Leicester City. A lot of stars. So for me, coming to this game, Nigeria really have to be careful, because the Cameroon side, they have got also good players.
What's your prediction?
So I'm giving to Cameroon.
Okay,
fair.
Fair.
Namibia, Angola, I think Angola has a chance. I saw how they played in their group, and they stand a chance. Then Cape Verde, Mauritania. Cape Verde can go through. And this is a team, I think they will get probably the Fair Play Award of the tournament.
Yeah.
They have got, it's a team that they don't rely on specific players. They don't have stars, but they have got what we call, teamwork. They've got a guy who plays for Benfica. I think he's been outstanding in Portugal. So they have got to take part. Morocco, South Africa.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Bafana because anything is possible. But for Morocco, they know where people are ranking them on the African continent because of what they did in the World Cup last year. So they have got a chance to go through in that game. I'll give it to Morocco.
Mali, the head-to-head record favors Morocco.
Yeah, Mali, Burkina Faso, Mali stand a chance. I think they would do it. Senegal have just the easiest road against the host nation. Anything can change, but Senegal, they have it easy. But the clash that might be interesting, if Egypt managed to beat DRC, then you've got Senegal and Egypt in the quarterfinal, a repeat of last year's final. And that's what we want.
You're really counting Cote d'Ivoire out.
Yeah, we want to stage another repeat of Sadio Mane and.
Why are you counting Cote d'Ivoire out?
We're looking at head-to-head. We look at current form. We look at the paper on paper. Okay. Egypt has got good players. Funny enough, in this picture, people don't see they don't see Egypt versus DRC. DRC has got more players who play in Europe than Egypt. Yeah, because if you look at the lineup of Egypt, they have got Trezeguet, they have got Egazi, they have got Mo Salah, and a few of them who play in Europe.
Salah
the rest
is not playing.
The rest, Salah is not playing, but the motivation of being in that team. So, and if they go through, he's guaranteed to play probably the quarterfinal. Yeah. So look at DRC. They've got a number of good players in Europe, including Wissa from Brentford. They've got just good players. So let's see how it turns up. Equatorial Guinea against Guinea. I'm giving it to Guinea. Guinea also have got a good side, experienced players. We know Bissouma from Tottenham Hotspurs. So, I mean, anything is possible. But for me, once again, whatever the case, Cape Verde will make it into the quarterfinal. It's a dream qualification for them. They have never been there. You look at in the SADC region, we might have 1 or 2 teams now in the quarterfinals. Between Angola and Namibia, one team has to be, obviously. And then you've got South Africa, who I'm not sure with their performance, but DRC, Egypt, it could be the end of DRC's journey.
I'm just wondering, your optimism on Cape Verde, I feel like you have this affinity now, you are really liking Cape Verde now. Is it because it is giving you a sense of hope regarding Eswatini, or?
I think it's our benchmark now. We need to look at ourselves to say, what has Cape Verde done that we're not doing? Because this is some of the things that will make us also grow as a country. When you have a team that is playing as a team, they are playing as a team, you will get a chance. This is why South Africa, people are shocked why maybe. People are saying they're not playing well. And the reason why South Africa might even progress if anything changes, we still give them the credit. 8 players within the team that starts. These are Mamelodi Sundowns players. Mamelodi Sundowns, when you look at where they are in Africa, they just won the clubs championship, African club championship. They won that. Look at their performance in CAF Champions League. So that's the exposure you need. The players are always together. They give you the same performance, the experience. Then that's what you want.
That's Fabrice speaking with so much passion there. Yeah. Really looking forward to the round of 16 commencing next week or this weekend.
That's 16.
Yeah, the rounds of 16. Is it commencing this weekend?
It's coming tomorrow. Saturday.
It's commencing tomorrow. Really looking forward to the results. We'll talk about it next week, Monday, with Master Fabrice. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go for a net break. We speak to Robert Fagutse. He's a senior statistician under the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development about the MICS survey.
What do you think the best part of traveling is? Is it the food, or is it the conversation, or is it the sights and sound? If you're ready to explore, we are ready to show you the best way how. We'll give you access to the best luxury getaway sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and of course show you vacation sites that suit your budget, because you do not need a lot of money to actually have a great time. Join us on the next adventure on Buhle Bethu, only on Eswatini TV.
Eswatini Lifestyle is all about inspiration, drive, and swag. Eswatini Lifestyle is informative and fun while covering all aspects of life, be it people, places, and trends in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We got you covered. The focus is on the quality of life. Eswatini Lifestyle will spark your interest. Catch Eswatini Lifestyle every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV, Simbugo Semaswati.
This weekend, Eswatini, your official weekend party starter. Tune in for the best of entertainment. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send your shout outs. Be sure to catch our movie segment where we review and give updates on all latest movies. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Kwelomhla siphinza sikwamukele ehlelweni sesigoqoda nje lihlelo ake sikhulumisane na Robert Fagutse loqhamuka lapha etiko letekuhlela umnotfo nentfutfuko lesukwini la itolo lilonche imiphumela of the 6th multiple indicator cluster survey liyatiwa ke nge-MICS number 6. Kuthiwa ke le survey ine information noma informative data spanning indicators elihlangothini lwetemfundvo, hlangothini lwetemphilo, indzaba ye-social protection as well as other issues of national importance affecting bantfwana bomake kanye nebantu besilisa. Sifuna ukukhulumisana naye ke umntolo nyala ekseni. Siyatfola ke ukuthi le survey lena is conducted every 5 years as ke ine main objective yayo. Le provide-ke updated information on core national indicators. Sifuna kuva ukuthi-ke amcwa kangakanani lama-core national indicators intolo nje ngisakuvusela ehlelweni. Our time does not favor us, sitawuphuthuma nje masinyane. Yini bomcwa kakhulu banayisurvey leni siniketa yona every 5 years?
Asibonge kakhulu Ncumalo, sibonge kakhulu nakumbukeli losibukelako. Ikakhulu kumcokala ukuthi silive sibe updated noma ke sithole ikakhulu imininingwane le ngazi ukuthi isesemisha mayelana netindzaba ikakhulu nje mix ubuke kakhulu tindzaba tinhlelo tebantwana tinhlelo tabomake nabobabe. Sihambile ke kakhulu ke lonyaka saphinze sabuka ikakhulu temfundo ikakhulu sibuka indzaba yalaba 5 to 17 lesibasesikoleni ukuthi sibona kuhamba kanjani ngoba utawuconza kahle ukuthi live lelifuna ukuthuthuka kahle kufanele tina kakhulu temfundo and ikutholakele ukuthi tikhonyana vele tingcinamba ikakhulu ngala temfundo betikhona tingcinamba kuletinye tinhlangothi kodwa lapho kuvele kwabonakala kakhulu. Ngicabanga kulo kakhulu ukuthi sinike live ikakhulu tinkomba letinsha lengazi ukuthi up to date so kuze ukuthi batakhona ukuthi bethe tinhlelo letifanele.
Yeah, one ought to learn indzaba ukuthi ikakhulu la ka education nithi ni prioritizile luhlangothi lwetemfundo lonyaka, and I think it just happened at the right time. Sandza kuvula kwetikolo nyalo nelitiko letemfundo litawuphakelwa timali nyalo litawuthi lisayobuka tinhlelo talo kuma portfolio likhona ukubona ukuthi okay silekha ngalana sikahle ngalana ingabe yini lenitfolile lesingathi engcenye it's going to need immediate noma sithi nje itawudzingeka i-urgency kakhulu indzabeni yokuthi ku-addresswe.
Lesikutholile kakhulu Ncumalo ukuthi lana besibuta imbuto kakhulu ngekuthi bebafunza abantwana lokuthi sibahlola ukuthi kufunza wabo kanjani kuba la dona time kanjani. Sitholile ukuthi endzabeni etekufundza kunenkinga kakhulu abasakhona ukufunza abantwana labasetikolweni and ngetulu kwaloko netibalo ikakhulu vele tinkinga kakhulu especially ikakhulu letifundza letemaphandleni boshiselo nabo libombo sithola ukuthi vele itikhona tingcinamba. Singasho nje sikakhulu ukuthi lelicwaningo lesilentile livetile ikakhulu umehluko noma ke lapho khona kukhona umehluko emkhathini wetifundza ngoba siyabona nje ukuthi esikhathini lesiningi lubombo neshiselo ngathi tifundza lingathi sithamba emva kakhudlwana noma ke tinetinkomba tingathi atsikahle kakhulu kubonakele vele etinhlangothini letiningi kulolu cwaningo lesilentile kuleti nkomba besitenda lokufaka ikhathi nato temfundo nato ke ikakhulu tebusweti yani tembili.
Sekunga-assume nje umntolo ukuthi kule hlangothi lwetemfundo nalenta le recession for ukuthi kakhulu letingathi tisalela emuva tikolwa particularly elibonje nasashiselweni ngileti semaphandleni because my general assumption ibese seyipheketelwa ukuthi ngiyabuka nje bo Evelyn Bering ukuthi they are always top performing schools but tilamadolobheni. Sengiyabona ukuthi ke neliphupho lelivela kangwane letinkhundla lelithi akuthuthuka nalemaphandleni litawuthi khanza lisitakala kunangumsebenzi nangu njengoba senifole ukuthi tingathi tisalele emuva leti semaphandleni letinye tifundza.
Cha liqiniso lelo siyavumelana nawo kakhulu. Bekungaba nje kwengeda kakhulu ikakhulu kutemfundo kube sekuba khona nanathi tempilo letingasinazo tiyathinzeka ngoba siconza kahle kakhulu ukuthi kumcokana ukuthi bantu baphile noma umuntu beyangafunza nangaphili nakakusho lutho kodwa ke lapho bekhambisana kakhulu nekubuka netindzaba tekuhlandeka ngoba ikakhulu impilo ihambelana nekuhlandeka. Sithola kakhulu ukuthi kulolu cwaningo besilenda besiphindze sihlula nesimo semanti ukuthi emanti lesiwadlako ahlobe kanjani ngoba ngiwo lamanye lamcwa kakhulu ikakhulu empilweni yomuntu. Kwekuqala ke eveni kuthi isendelo licwaningo lemanti kwathesta i-E. coli lesingazi ukuthi kungaba kungcola kwawo lamanti. Sithole ukuthi vele emanti elive angcole kakhulu akasila kahle kakhulu akhona emanti sitawubekisa nje ishiselweni inawo emanti tisho nje atinkomba kodwa emanti aseshiselweni ngisona sifunza sinemanti langcole kakhulu ngilokunye lokuphinze kube inkinga kakhulu uphinze ubukeke letindzaba tekubhabhadlela nato tonke nje tekudla ngiletile lesitibukele kusho kona ukuthi vele tindzaba tempilo nato tiyadzinga ukuthi tinakelele kakhulu.
Ndolo, thank you so much for your time. I'm really sorry nekubabukela emakhaya ukuthi nje asikathola isikhathi lesicishe lesanele kahle kuyichaza kabantu kodwa lokuhle ukuthi iyatholakala le report lena iyatholakala government portal emaswati angahamba ayodownloada khona kwaloko sasifike emaphetheleni ehlelo lethu lwalomuhla sithembe ukuthi emaswati atawuba nempela sonvo lephephile nalelihle kakhulu sibe responsible nisale kahle.
Now, we're 25 days into the new year 2024, and tell you what, we'll still keep going, and we're all about sporting activities in the country. Hell, on Thursday, we'll bring you live Temidlalo. It is a chance to also give other sporting codes, apart from football, a chance to shine and let you know what is it that is happening in the country when we talk about other sporting codes. So Thursday has been dedicated for that chance. And to begin things with, we'll look at the so much anticipated Golf Autism Day this coming weekend on the 27th and the 28th this coming weekend. The second edition, by the way, where we'll have special guests in the studio just to take a look at the preparations. What can we expect in this year's edition? What has changed? What has improved? And what is yet to take center stage in this tournament? Otherwise, moving from that with our in-house analyst, Linda Dlamini, Stasa Seltuba, Sikuru Msetinzabate boxing. There was a tournament over the weekend. Athletics, there's so much question marks that are being raised within the athletics because during the qualifiers of All Africa Games, only 2 local clubs turned up for the event. What's so wrong? Our in-house Linda Dlamini analyst will be here to talk about the so much lack of numbers when it comes to athletics these days. What's the question mark? What is happening with this association that was promising so much numbers in the past? As you can see, the numbers were quite low. We'll talk about other sporting codes such as rugby. Most of these sporting codes, by the way, they were getting back to their activities this past weekend. So we just hit and run on all these sports and see what they were doing, including rugby, like I just highlighted. We look at what they were all about this past weekend, what they're trying to achieve. Remember, they're all about trying to introduce a 7-a-side to ensure that in the upcoming years they're able to compete internationally. Otherwise, table tennis, in one way of moving from Babane Manzini corridor, they visited one specific area in the Rubombo region. There's a club called Dakota. It's a table tennis by the club. We hear from the president, Percy Zulu, and some of the athletes that are already dominating the sport within the Rubombo region. What's happening? By